Have you ever had anybody say something to you in the past where you're like, you heard it and you laughed a little bit and you're like, that is a horrible, horrible idea? Because that's what happened to me. Not too long ago, Gabriel tweeted me on Twitter and said, hey, could you 3D print some kind of fan that fits razor blades? And I read that and I got a good chuckle out of it and I was like, that's a horrible idea. I would somehow lose a finger, get cut real bad. But it just made me laugh and I just kept thinking about it and thinking about it. And then last video, I was browsing through the comments and somebody said kind of the same thing. And in my defense, it could be the same person, but if it was, touche, because I saw that and I was like, all right, we're doing it. That's two people. That's all it takes to convince me. And that's the plan today. We're gonna create the world's most dangerous fan, pretty much. And it should go without saying, you shouldn't do this at home. This probably won't work that good as a fan, and it's inherently dangerous. So, as quoted by the great Styro Pyro.
I mean, if you were to try any of this stuff at home, you'd probably die. So yeah, please don't try this at home.
Now, you probably won't really die, but you'll get cut. Worst case scenario, get cut real bad. But let's talk about what we're gonna try here. Now, the first thing I noticed when setting out on this endeavor was that a razor blade doesn't really fit too well within the fan body, so I was gonna have to create something that positioned it in such a way that it could fit within the frame here and still had some sort of angle on it to move air, because its job is to move air, not cut all your fingers off. But that's the idea. Is I got into CAD and I messed around with some different designs to try to find something that would fit inside this frame. And what I came up with was a 5-blade design that the razor can slide into. And you might be thinking that's a horrible idea. It's just gonna slide right out as soon as you turn it on. You're right, and I thought about, should I mechanically fix it? Should I make the gap tight enough to hold it friction-wise? And what I decided to do was make the gap relatively tight to hold it pretty secure, but then use some epoxy to ensure that these razors hopefully do not come out of this fan that I've created. And also I've followed the OSHA procedure of labeling this fan as danger. Keep hands clear. So anybody, I'm covered on the safety requirements. I guess you couldn't read it as the fan was going round and round, but when you stuck your finger in there and you had a big bad day, you'd be like, oh, I should have read the fan. So I think we should assemble this first. Now, the razors are all brand new because I want to give them the best chance of injuring me. And razors have a little bit of grease on them, or a little bit of oil. So first I'm going to clean that off, and then I'm going to lightly sand the razor's edges, the back edge here, so that the epoxy can get the best possible grip on these things inside the slot here. And I'm hoping that the layer lines will also provide the same adhesion on the inside. I mean, we'll find out, but let's get these cleaned up and sanded. It's going to use a little bit of isopropyl alcohol to get the majority of the oil off. The epoxy has cured, and it is as terrifying as I thought it would be. I have it fastened to the table here, so I'm going to spin it up and make sure everything holds together. But I want to keep it from falling on its face, because I fear if it does on the table or the floor, I'll lose a tip here, and I'll only find it with my feet in the future. So we're going to turn it on, see if it holds, try to get an RPM reading on it, and if everything goes to plan, we'll try some other kind of tests. Here we go. All right, everything seems to be holding together. 2,038. I want to see if I can feel air behind it, but I'm not putting my hand back there, so we're going to shut her down, and we'll just look to see if we can see it on the smoke test. Ooh, hey, look at that. It's working. It doesn't look like it's moving a whole lot of air, but the air that it is pushing along doesn't look to be too bad. It looks like it's doing it pretty efficiently. In addition to that, I hooked it up to the sound test that we do on all the fans for the Fan Showdown, and it's not really that loud. Yes, doesn't look like it's moving that much air, but it also isn't producing that much noise, which is pretty interesting given that it's just a hub of razor blades spinning round and round. And when I hooked it up on the wind tunnel, it does show that the amount of air coming out of this fan is quite low. If it was in the Fan Showdown, it would be quite low on the leaderboard. But nonetheless, for a bunch of razors, it is working. Now I will say, looking at it like this, it's very intimidating. You can see how touching this while it's moving could be a real bad idea. But when it's spinning, you kind of forget about that, as it just looks like a normal fan. And that got me thinking, we can't just leave off here. We have to see, is this thing that dangerous or not. Now, I'm obviously not going to touch it, but I have another idea. We're going to use this, a hot dog. Yeah, like this, it looks a little lewd, but yeah, this is a hot dog. We're going to run the hot dog into the fan and see if it gets mangled or nothing. I assume that it'll get cut up a little bit, but this is a better idea than my finger. And this is how we're going to do it with probably the most scientifically advanced piece of equipment ever created, the Hot Dog Thruster 9000. Essentially, it's an old camera rig that I have that is going to slowly run this hot dog down the track until it gets to the fan. And then we're just going to observe.
Giggity, giggity.
But that's the idea. Will it work? I don't know. Again, zip ties. They fix everything. Let's give it a shot. I don't know exactly what we learned during that, other than it made a mess. I guess you could say it's dangerous. Is it going to kill you? Probably not. Is it going to cut you real good if you touched it? Yes. I guess also we learned that, yes, Gabriel, we can make a fan out of razor blades. Should you? No, it doesn't really work that well. It's more dangerous than it needs to be, especially if you're a hot dog. But either way, it was kind of fun. If you have, I don't know if this might be like a one-off series episode. I guess it depends on you all out there. If you have ideas like this randomness for a video, leave me a comment down below or tweet at me at Twitter. And if it catches my attention or if it just seems so outrageous like this little setup, we might just do it. Maybe we'll be in episode 2 in our future. But for now, razor blade fan, yes you can. Should you? No. Till next time.